Last time we started a discussion on how do you trust again. And today I want to continue the thought on cultivating a safe atmosphere. You're going to hear that a lot in this series because it's vital for you, the betrayed, and it's vital for you, the unfaithful, to understand safety is the bedrock of recovery moving forward. Now, I need to read something to you that is by Leslie Hardy, who is one of our therapists who helped facilitate the EMS weekend. She does a ton of writing for the site, and she's incredibly intelligent. But she says this, she said, "Safety is best determined by the heart's attitude of the unfaithful and their response to the betrayal." So you can't trust someone who's not safe, and safety is going to be revealed by the heart that the unfaithful bring to the table. Now, this is going to be a controversial statement. One of the best signs of a safe, unfaithful spouse is a healthy distrust of themselves. Now, if you've never heard that before, you can kind of freak out and go, if he or she doesn't trust themselves, how am I going to ever trust them? It's so counterintuitive. Think about it this way. If I am walking in this overinflated sense of pride and willpower, I'm going to be putting myself in situations that I don't need to be putting myself in. I will allow myself to be in high-risk situations thinking that I will not fall to the temptation when I have already proven that I am not strong enough to resist the temptation. My track record cuts the legs out from underneath my willpower, right? My 2.5-year affair reveals that I am not strong enough to put myself in high-risk situations. The best thing I can do right now is to distrust myself and not put myself in high-risk situations. Now, for me, it's been 10 years, so it's a little bit different, but I still have a healthy distrust. I won't put myself in high-risk situations that I know that I'm going to be tempted or incredibly vulnerable, and that I could risk throwing it all away again. Now, you may say, but Samuel, it's been 10 years. Are you that fragile? It's not about being fragile, it's about being self-aware. And another good principle of safety is to be self-aware. And if you are an unfaithful, one of the best things that you can do is to say, wait a minute, I know what I'm capable of. And that's a hard-hitting moment. If you are an unfaithful, you have to live in light of what you've done. You have to live in light of what you're capable of, apart from the grace of God, or apart from accountability measures, or apart from self-awareness, whatever you want to label it as. If you're not aware of what you've done and what you're capable of doing, you will put yourself back in situations that you will probably fall in and make terrible mistakes, and then a few months, weeks, years later, you'll wake up and go, man, what happened? Well, you put yourself back in a stupid situation, and it wasn't safe. Now, that's a pretty direct statement, and I'm aware of that, and I'm being self-aware. And I don't mean that to be adversarial, but this is life. This is real life carnage. And so you have to be aware of the beast inside of you. Now, one of the things that I really want to help you with is that when you distrust yourself, you're willing to do a few things. Number one is you recognize your limitations. There's some places you just won't go. There's some places you say, man, I can't go there if you're an unfaithful. Number two, you're accepting of the fact that you have done what you've done, and very easily you could do it all again if you're not careful. Number three, you are aware of what your choices have done to your spouse, and you're aware of what your choices have done to your own life. And when you live like that, there's a vulnerability, there's a brokenness that you say, man, I don't ever want to go back there again, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make my spouse feel safe because I don't trust myself. Now, Samantha loves that I don't trust myself because it reveals my heart, and I'm not pumping myself up. I'm just saying, and incidentally, I had to be taught all these things. It's not like I got these on my own. More like pounded into me time and time again. So there's no arrogance over here. I just want you to know that. But I had to learn these things, and I don't trust myself, and it makes Samantha feel safer because she knows that I don't trust myself, which means I won't put myself in situations where I could fall. Now, the alternative is to say, well, I trust myself, and I'm going to be fine, and I'm never going to do this again. That would make Samantha incredibly afraid because it reveals a bad heart attitude that I think I'm stronger than I am, and that's part of what made me cheat in the first place. So she feels safer because I'm less likely to wound her again because I am living in light of what I've done. I'm living in light of what I could do again. I'm living in light of I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make Samantha feel safe. And I'll give you one good story. So we returned to the ministry several years ago, and we were on the front row. It was during praise and worship and just kind of a relaxed moment. And this real pretty girl came up, and she was, probably, I think, early 30s, and I was mid-30s. And she walked up and she gave me this big hug and said, "I'm so glad that you're pastoring here." And then she just kind of looked at Samantha and said, "Hi," and walked away. And she was dressed, let's just say, unchurchy. And she walked away, and immediately inside of me, my soul shook. I was like, oh no, oh no. And literally a second after she walked away, Samantha leaned, "Who was that?" And I leaned into her and said, "This one girl," and I said her name, and I hope she never does that again. And Samantha kind of just looked at me and laughed, and at that point, I made a mental note, that girl is not going to have a lot of time around me at all. Now, is Samantha that fragile that I can't be around pretty girls? No. Am I that much of an idiot that in the past I have had an affair and completely jeopardized everything? Yes. So if there's a pretty girl that's a little bit younger, it is a trigger for Samantha, and that was just kind of a weird moment. And so I made a mental note that I was never going to have a lot of time around her, and if that girl needed ministry, she was going to get it from somebody else or Samantha. She wasn't going to get it from me. And so it's being aware of those things. One of the best things that you can do, unfaithful, is to anticipate what could be triggers for your spouse. And so for me, if we're going to go see a movie, man, I look at every review I can to make sure there's not going to be anything in there about infidelity, because that could absolutely just be a downer. If there's people at church that are females that pay a lot of attention to me, I make sure that I kind of distance myself. If there's emails or things that come in, because Samantha has all of my passwords and can access anything in my life that she needs to, if there's an email that's going to come off weird, I'm going to try and actually go and cut it off at the pass and say, "Hey, that seemed a little bit weird. Are you okay? Does that, bring up anything, or do you feel uncertain about something? Because I want to clear it up." In short, if you want to be trusted again unfaithful, cultivate safety. Betrayed, if you want to trust your mate again, communicate to them what you need to feel safe and ask them to do it. And I promise you it will pave the way to one day trusting again.